Hi, students. Um, During this trimester and next trimester, we're going to be focusing on listening, and we are going to be assessed on listening. You will have several presentations that you're going to be listening to, and then you'll be assessed on how well you understood the presentation. The point of this lesson today is to help you and guide you on my own process of how I take notes when listening. The presentation is about 4 minutes and 25 seconds, and you will be using this organizer. So at the very top, I have tagged. So I already pre-filled that already. The name of the presentation is called "Early Humans in North America." It was produced by NPR, National Public Radio. It's nonfiction, and it was produced in 2008. So on the left hand side here, you have where you'll be taking notes. You need a minimum of 8 notes, and try to have a timestamp for them. And you'll see what I mean by that in a second. On the right side, you have some guiding questions, and they're usually going to be the same. What is the main idea of the audio presentation, and what is the purpose of the presentation? Okay. Um, in a Google Doc, these boxes will get bigger, so you will have more space to write. But in this case, I don't have that luxury. On this side, you have questions you have about the presentation. You should always have some questions, right? That shows me that you are really listening to the presentation and that you are actively thinking about the presentation, right? You should always have a couple questions that hopefully the presentation answers by the time it's over. And on the bottom, you have vocabulary that you hear. Okay. Um, if you can define the vocabulary, you're more than you should define it because it will help you understand what it means. So I'm gonna start a presentation. You should be able to hear it. I'm playing it on a different computer. So here we go.
This is All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Robert Siegel.
And I'm Michelle Norris. In Oregon, archaeologists have found something they say is very exciting. 14.
So I heard in Oregon. So I'm gonna just write Oregon, and then something to do with archaeologists. Okay. Um, so here at the bottom, I'm gonna write, what is an archaeologist? And here I could also write archaeologist. And hopefully by the end of the presentation, I know what an archaeologist is. So in Oregon, something to do with archaeologists, maybe they found something. Let's find out.
14,000-year-old they say is very exciting. 14,000-year-old fossilized excrement.
Ooh, they found something that's about 4,000 years, 14,000, sorry. You see, when I write here, I have the luxury of being able to write on this document this way because you are writing on a Chromebook. Yours might look a little different. You can just keep writing. You can do another note here if you want. Okay. Um, so I'm gonna just do that because I want to make sure that you guys do the same thing as I do. So archaeologists found something that was 14,000 years old.
Now, stay with me here. These year-old fossilized excrement. Now, stay with me here.
I heard the word excrements. Excrement, I think that's poop. That sounds like it's poop. Let's find out.
These coprolites, as they're called by the experts, are remarkable.
So this poop apparently has a name, and they're called cropolites. So here I'm gonna write another word. Oh, that's a hard one. And then I'm gonna say poop? Question mark.
Remarkable for several reasons. For one thing, they're older than most artifacts left by the earliest Americans. For another, they contain DNA, and that gives scientists a rare opportunity to look.
Interesting. So these coprolites, apparently, this poop, coprolites, I think that's how what they, coprolite, coprolite, have DNA. Now, some of us might not know what DNA is, and some of us might. So DNA could be another one here. Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Learn about the people who left them behind. NPR's Christopher Joyce reports.
Archaeologists knew about Oregon's Paisley Caves back in the late 1930s. They were shallow and were carved into a hillside by a prehistoric lake. Inside, animal bones and stone tools and other signs that humans camped or lived there. But in 2002, a team dug deeper and found what you might call pay dirt.
At the bottom of cave number 5, we recovered
Pay dirt. I think that has to do with like finding something that's really, really important. Like holy moly.
horse and
Dirt.
So every time I stop the video and I think about it, or the audio, I always go back a little bit, because I want to make sure that I don't miss anything.
Found what you might call pay dirt.
At the bottom of cave number 5, we recovered horse and camel bones and a coprolite, which produced human DNA.
Archaeologist Janice Jenkins from the University of Oregon says they eventually found hundreds of coprolites. 6 contained human DNA. What amazed him was how old they were, 14,300 years.
Oh, so they changed this a little bit on me. So 14,300 years. One question I have is I wonder how they or the archaeologists are able to date these. I keep having to look at this word, coprolites. You know what I mean? So for example, when you are looking at a person, you're like, that person looks like they're 20, 30, 40, right? Or something like that. But how are they able to determine that something is 14,200 years or 300 years, whatever it said? Interesting.
That radiocarbon date is important because no one has been able to.
Oh, hold on. They said something.
That radiocarbon 100 years. That radiocarbon date is important.
Oh, apparently it's something to do with radiocarbon dating. So I'm guessing this is a tool that they have to be able to figure out how old something is.
Because no one has been able to agree on when people came to the Americas. The earliest clear evidence is about 13,000 years ago, but it's mostly stone tools and butchered animal bones. These were left by the Clovis people, traditionally thought of as the first Americans. But nobody had human remains that old. No bones or teeth, says Jenkins.
Oh, so it looks like this is the first time archaeologists found real human remains that's old. Interesting. So before they had like tools, they had weapons, they had found that stuff, but up until when was this? 2000 and not sure 2003, I think they said. I'm not sure exactly what date they said. That's the first time they said that they had found actual human remains.
Finally have human remains or cells, basically molecular evidence for human beings before the Clovis time, and they're basically the individual signature that they left.
And they left it at least 1,000 years before the Clovis people. And the DNA tells more. Eska Willerslev.
So it sounds like the Clovis people are the earliest people that we know about, but then these findings have made it seem that humans were here even before the Clovis people.
At the University of Copenhagen is the scientist who extracted the DNA.
Our result shows that the oldest evidence we have to date of human presence in North America is definitely of Native American origin.
Native American origin because the coprolite DNA shows certain genetic patterns called haplogroups by geneticists common to present-day Native Americans. These patterns are also found among certain people in Eastern Asia. That adds weight to the hypothesis that people first came here across the Bering Sea on a land bridge connecting the two continents.
Oh, wow. So here I'm going to try to draw a picture. So here is Asia. Here is North America, and here's South America. So according to what they said, I believe I'm right. I think that I understand what they said. That people crossed from Asia into North America. And this is the land bridge. I'm going to make it brown. And this is the land bridge here. Because the people from this area seem to have the same genetic material as these people. Interesting.
Jenkins says scientists are still teasing out more information from the fossil feces. Not surprisingly, for example, what early American cuisine was like.
They certainly ate sage grouse and smaller animals. I think we've recovered some.
Ooh, I heard the word cuisine. Cuisine is, I believe it's based on what they said, I think is the food that they ate. So they ate some small animals. You know, one thing that I forgot to do, and I apologize, I forgot to write the timestamps. So every time I write one of these notes, it seems counterproductive because I'm thinking about this too much to care about the time. So I'm going to eliminate that expectation, okay? Because I'm really into the presentation and I don't want to go back and see what time it is. At what time do they say this note? This is 5. So these Native Americans apparently ate small animals. They ate some form of grass. And the way they found that out is because of the poop that they pooped out.
Chipmunk bones from one of the coprolites.
Jenkins says there are residues in the coprolites from types of plants that still can be found near the caves.
So what we have are visitors
Chipmunks is a type of small animal that they ate apparently.
coming for a short stay, doing some hunting and collecting. So they would have been looking out over a grassy plain, basically with a pretty rich environment, probably a few trees here and there, junipers, some pine trees possibly, but mostly an open shrub and grassland.
There are some puzzles raised by the mix of coprolites in the cave bottom, however. Thomas Dillehay is an archaeologist at Vanderbilt University.
I missed that. What did he
Some of
say?
them did not grassland.
There are some puzzles raised by the mix of coprolites in the cave bottom, however. Thomas Dillehay is an archaeologist at Vanderbilt University.
Some of them did not have human DNA and others had canine, perhaps fox DNA. So those admixtures are somewhat problematic and need to be resolved.
So apparently it wasn't just human poop that they found. They also found animal poop. That was kind of mixed in there. And they don't really know why. I'm guessing those animals later, they might have gone in and pooped around. Maybe they were eating the poop. I don't know.
In the future.
So there's a chance that the coprolites were left by canines, or at least contaminated by them. But Jenkins notes that
Oh, he just made a claim that maybe these are not human. But that's interesting though, because how could he say that if they tested the DNA of that's found in the poop and they tested other DNA that matches human? So that's interesting. I don't understand that.
some of the coprolites contain human hair and human proteins in addition to human DNA. He suggests that if they were left by dogs, then they were dogs that were eating humans, which doesn't change the conclusion that people lived and died there 14,300 years ago.
So there could be another answer, right? Maybe these animals that poop this poop out, maybe those animals ate humans, but then that still proves the point that humans were around for these animals to eat. Interesting.
Years ago. With hundreds more coprolites to examine, genetics expert Eska Wil-
So it sounds like they are still studying. I'm gonna just say the poop, and the poop was ever in the poop cells.
Willerslev says there's lots they can still find out from the DNA.
We can actually investigate, what was the diversity of the first people entering the Americas? How many different people were there? How big was the population? How was the frequency of females versus males?
The research on the Paisley Caves coprolites appears in this week's issue of the journal Science.
So it looks like they can still get a lot of information. So archaeologists still seeking many answers to questions that they have about these artifacts that they found. So here are my notes, right? They don't have to be extensive. You can draw on them if you want. You can include images. It's really up to you, as long as you are constantly thinking about the topic, interacting with the content, asking questions, making comments, right? So what is the main idea of this story? It sounds, so the main idea is not about poop, right? That's kind of like a detail that supports the main idea. So the main idea is pretty much that archaeologists have learned that humans were in North America earlier than previously thought. Okay. And every detail here talks about how that's supported. The purpose of the presentation is to inform the listener about early humans or early people, early Americans. The early Americans. Okay. I know my writing is not that good. I apologize. What's an archaeologist? It sounds like it's someone that studies people. Study human artifacts, human civilizations of the past, maybe. Yeah, and that's all you would do. And then you would submit this document to me, and then I will give you a quiz on how well you understood the presentation. Okay, I hope this has helped, and I will probably be doing another one of these before your assessment. Bye, guys.